Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer, and for this video, we're going to be going over my top 8 crazy fun builds on patch 1.14. A lot of these are really fun. I had a blast with these. Definitely check out some of these. They're absolutely awesome. We're going to start here with Rolana's balance build. This is for both fire and magic on her swords at 150. So I did a build maxing the faith part and a build maxing the intelligence part, but I didn't really go over one that balances everything yet. So I decided to do this one and it turned out really well. Honestly, having 40 intelligence and 40 faith, I was still able to make it work, get good damage out of it, and have a lot of fun in the process. And they're a lot better now, especially with Rolana's cameo having that boost. Keep in mind, by the way, the delay, as far as delay goes, you're going to miss it sometimes because you're not always going to have the time to proc Rolana's cameo, but when you do, the damage boost is substantial. Let's jump into equipment, stats, everything you need to know for this build. After we show off the cool Ash of War, it really is an amazing looking Ash of War and a lot of fun to use. We have Rolana's Twin Blades plus 10. We have the Erdtree Seal. You can check out the armor set, part of Rakshasa and Solitude set on. We have the Exile Helm, we have the Fire Scorpion Charm, Magic Scorpion Charm. You're going to take a lot more damage with this build, but you could dish out a lot of damage. Shard of Alexander, Rolana's Cameo, Magic Tier, Flame Tier, and we're using Market Shackle to stun the boss. Let's talk about stats. And we have 60 Vigor, 21 Mind, 27 Endurance, 16 Strength, 16 Dexterity, and then of course we have 40 Intelligence and 40 Faith to balance this with Golden Vow and Howl of Shabriri. Quick note, by the way, one thing you could do is combine this with the Sword of Night and Flame. They don't have a move set together because they're different classes, but you could switch between the two, get more range from the Sword of Night and Flame, and then switch back to Rolana's Twin Blades for massive damage. This is a really cool way to handle a lot of fights, and honestly, I like the combination. If you're quick with switching stuff, you could take advantage of both Ashes, because guess what? They're going to scale exactly the same with the setup you have and talismans included. And next up on here is the Kick and Win build. This is going to focus on your charge hits with Dane's footwork. And guess what? You're going to get a lot of damage and a lot of poise damage with this one. We have it in Cold Affinity too, so we can build up Frost. We aren't using the Ash of War, but instead we're using Black Flame's protection in combination with Endure. We're tanking hits and we're dishing out a lot of damage. Those on-charge hits now come out faster. When you do charge them, you get decent poise damage. And as we mentioned, the Frost buildup will be substantial. This is one, honestly, I think you're going to love. I have so much fun with the kicking skills, and even if you're not using the Ash of War, they're kind of hilarious to use. They're just really enjoyable. So if you build around Endure, you can tank a lot of hits, and you can use as much as the moveset as you want to. Let's jump into equipment and stats. And we have Dane's Cold Footwork plus 25 with Endure, any seal for buffs. We have the Solitude set on, and we have a little bit of the Rakshasa set on as well. Millicent's Prosthesis, Wing Sword Insignia. We have the Axe Talisman. Arsenal Charms plus 1, or Great Jar's Arsenal if you have it, Spike Crack tier, and Faith tier. And for stats on this one, I want you to keep something in mind. As far as Dexterity and Strength and Cold Affinity on these, it's very quality. It's going to have an even split between the two. A little bit better scaling with Intelligence. We have that at 50. We have 30 Faith, so we can use Black Flame's Protection, Golden Vow, and we have 60 Vigor. And next up here, we have the Flail and Bale build. This is based off using one Flail with Poison Flower Blooms twice, and then the other Flail is going to use Wild Strikes in Blood Affinity. So the concept here is to get in the Rot proc. With the Magma Worm, he's going to be pretty resisted, so it's going to take several tries to get the Rot proc, and then after you get it, you can get a follow-up attack for more damage, although it's a little bit hard to do because it's going to be, the Rot is going to be procced at that point. And we're going to be switching anyway back to Wild Strikes at that point. So once we have the Rot, we're going to switch to Wild Strikes. Then we get Blood, Rot, and the damage just ticks down. Yeah, basically you're going to watch whatever boss you're facing, is their health is just going to go down. As long as they can be rotted, as long as they take bleed damage, their health is going to go down fast because most bosses are going to be less than the Magma Worm, probably only 2 or 3 hits with Poison Flower Blooms twice to get the Rot proc, and then follow up with Wild Strikes in Blood Affinity. There is a follow-up to this that does more damage after an enemy takes the Rot or Poison proc, but since we're doing Blood Affinity, we are only going for the Rot proc. Let's jump into equipment. And we have the Blood Knight Rider's Flail plus 25. We have Wild Strikes on it, and our other one's going to be Blood Affinity, Poison Flower Blooms twice, Rakshasa set, and White Mask. Millicent's Prosthesis, Shard of Alexander, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Wing Sword Insignia, or Rotten Wing Sword Insignia if you have it, Thorny tier, and Faith tier. Let's talk about sets. And for stats, we have 60 Vigor, 20 Mind, 28 Endurance, 12 Strength, 45 Dexterity, 25 Faith with the Faith tier, and we have 45 Arcane. That's so we can hit that Arcane soft cap and get decent bleed buildup. We're also using Golden Vow and Flame Grant Restraint as our buffs. And the next one up here, we have Prelate's Frozen Crozier. This is going to focus on Waves of Darkness and getting massive damage with the follow-up, and then our charge attack, regular hits, etc. Basically taking advantage of the good AR we have with Prelate's Infernal Crozier in Cold Affinity. Something interesting here about Prelates is you're not going to get a ton more damage out of the Astral War Waves of Darkness, so go more into strength. Don't worry about intelligence much. Even high intelligence Waves of Darkness does not have great scaling with it. We have Waves of Darkness, Cold Affinity, Prelates, Infernal Crozier, any seal for buffs. Part of the Rakshasa and Solitude set on, Shard of Alexander, and then the next one here we're going to have is the Blade of Mercy. If you get a posture break, you get massive damage, but you could also use in this spot the two-handed sword talisman would probably be better. And we have the Magic Scorpion Charm, Arsenal Charm +1 or Great Jar's Arsenal, Magic tier, Faith tier. Let's jump into stats for this one. Yeah, even high intelligence on Waves of Darkness, it's not ridiculous in terms of damage. I think there's some physical damage mixed in with all that, but I like the follow-up swing and then the two-handed regular hits with Prelate's Infernal Crozier. We have 60 Vigor, 66 Strength, 25 Faith with the Faith tier, Golden Vow, Flame Whip Strength. And I just want to show off one other thing. It's really great for crowd control. If you ever have mobs around you and use this Astral War, it's really convenient. And the next one up here is the Trolling Anvil build. This is going to work around the Anvil Hammer, as you guessed it, and the Troll's Hammer as well. These can combine together pretty well because they both do a lot of physical damage, a lot of fire damage, and they scale similarly. Actually, minus the little bit of intelligence scaling that the Anvil Hammer has, they're very similar. Now, the Anvil Hammer is a little bit deceiving. It will receive more fire damage and better Faith scaling for what it shows on screen, and the Troll's Hammer, very low on the Faith part. But again, a little bit of fire damage, massive physical damage from both of these, and you can combo them together. Turns it into a really smart build too, because fire is a good damage type and physical damage is always reliable as well. So get in some jump attacks, get in some charge hits, use them together, use your L1s or your LBs and go crazy with these. Have a lot of fun. This is a big strength build here with a lot of damage. Let's jump into equipment, stats, everything you need to know. This is a fun one, as are all of these. We've got better ones upcoming here, too. We've got a lot of stuff going on here. We have the Anvil Hammer +10, preferably. The Troll's Hammer +25, preferably. Erdtree's Seal. We have the Rakshasa set on. Circlet of Light on. We have the Ritual Swords Talisman, Claw Talisman. We have the Axe Talisman, Arsenal's Charms +1, or Great Jar's Arsenal if you have it. Spike Crack tier, and Faith tier. Let's jump into stats. If you notice, I'm using dual weapons a lot in these. It's just a change up for me because I don't usually do enough of those types of builds, so I hope you guys enjoy these. 60 Vigor, 19 Mind, 35 Endurance, 50 Strength. If you two-hand, 75. We're not doing that, though. So we're going to stick with 50. We have Golden Vow, Flame Whip Strength. And the next one up here is the Frozen Guard build. This is going to work off guard counters, and then we're going to be using Chilling Mist for some extra frost. And then, of course, we have the Sword Lance, which is amazing for guard counters, and you can also poke with this as well. For those that don't know, there's a very obvious sound when you get a successful guard counter, and then you're going to use your charged attack, and afterwards you can get a follow-up, which essentially does more damage and does a lot of posture damage as well, making guard counter builds incredibly powerful now that they've boosted the defense and the stamina reduction on medium shields. Be aware of special abilities that will knock you back, though, that the bosses will have. Anything they do that does a ton of damage in terms of like poise damage to you and your shield is typically going to knock you back. You're not going to get a guard counter, so you're going to go more for the light hits and then follow up with awesome swings that do a lot of damage and can break the bosses. Actually, when they do anything heavy or anything big in terms of their attacks, sometimes you could roll and it's actually better stamina-wise, and then just get your stamina back, have that regen, and then go to block the light attacks and follow up. Shove it equipment. We have the Cold Sword Lance +25 with Chilling Mist. We have the Twin Bird Kite Sealed, awesome for guard boost for a medium shield, any seal for buffs. Part of the Rakshasa and Solitude set on. We have the Axe Talisman, Ritual Swords Talisman. We're using the Viridian Amber Medallion. The +2 would be better here. Curved Sword Talisman for guard counters, Spike Crack tier, and Faith tier. And for stats on this one, of course, we're going to be running a strength build for this because we're going to get a lot of strength scaling. So 66 strength here, 60 vigor, 20 mind, 35 endurance, 25 faith with the faith here. And then we're going to be using golden vow, flame grant me strength. And we had over 70 poise. We got a lot of poise and defense for this one. And the next one up here is Strength from Afar, and this is going to be built around the Great Sword of Solitude, and then we're going to be using the Bastard Sword offhand with Flame Spear for a great combination build that allows you to have a lot of distance power as a strength build. So Flame Spear has a deceiving amount of range, and then of course the Great Sword of Solitude has Solitary Moon Slash, which has a follow-up but also gives you a wave that does decent damage as well. You can combine these two for a dual move set, or you could use each Ash of War for a lot of damage as well. Get some fire damage as well as physical damage in. And ultimately, you're going to end up with a solid build that can be built around using 2 different cool Ashes of War and getting regular hits when you can. And jump attacks are important here too, because that'll give you some decent poise damage and maybe get some breaks for you as well. By the way, if you're wondering why I posted a lot of videos this weekend, I really like the patch. It got me back into Elden Ring. I was kind of taking a mini break from it, and then I got back into it with the patch. They changed a lot, and I've been having a really fun time with Elden Ring again. And this is a game that I mentioned in my last video that I can never seem to put down. Yeah, and I love making these fun builds. There's so much, like, honestly, there's so much enjoyment in making these and just having a good time testing different things, going around fighting different things, and seeing what works and what doesn't work. It's a lot of fun doing this. I really appreciate this community. It's been amazing. And if you want to be a part of the community even more so, be sure to join the Discord, which is in the description. Really cool community, and shout out to my mods if they're out there watching this video. They are amazing. They've been super helpful. Let's jump into equipment, stats, everything you need to know for this build. And we have the Great Sword of Solitude, plus 10 preferably. We have the Fire Bastard Sword with Flame Spear. We have a mix of Rakshasa set and Solitude set on. We have any Seal for buffs. Shard of Alexander, Godfrey Icon, Claw Talisman, Arsenal Charms plus 1. I probably should get Great Char's Arsenal at this point. Green Burst Crystal Tier, Faith Tier. Let's jump into stats. And for stats on this one, we have 60 Vigor, 20 Mind, 35 Endurance, 66 Strength. That's going to be 99 if you end up two-handing either one of these. We have 25 Faith with the Faith tier, and our buffs are Golden Bow and Flame Grip Strength. And I just want to show off how useful this can be in combat. It can do a lot of poise damage ultimately, and switching between the two, getting the combination moveset, it really does work well together. This is one of the builds on the list I really enjoy. Taking advantage of both these weapons here and beating up on this Rune Bear was a lot of fun. By the way, in a week or two, I'm going to be doing more of the theme builds that you guys commented in that video. If you haven't checked out that video, be sure to check that one out on my channel. It's really good. And the next one up is This Is Magic, and that's the final build on this list. And this one is absolutely amazing. This combines the Sword of Night and Flame with Moonveil because you can build around them similarly and get massive damage between both Ashes of War. Yeah, this is an amazing build, honestly. If you hold it down, you'll get the boost from Rolana's cameo. It does massive damage. Now, you're not always going to have time to use Rolana's cameo. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. But when you do, the damage boost is massive. And on a side note, I want to do a quick shout out for NordVPN. They have an amazing discount if you want to check that out in the description below. If you want a VPN, if you're in other countries, want to check out different things, or if you want more security in general and you want to keep your browsing safer and more private, be sure to check out those links in the description. This build is definitely a fun one. Be sure to try this one out. If you're going to try any of the ones out on this list, definitely try this one. It does a lot of damage. We have Moonveil plus 10. We have the Sword of Night and Flame, preferably plus 10. Any seal for buffs, Rakshasa set. We have the Divine Beast head on. We have the Ritual Sword Talisman, Shard of Alexander, Magic Scorpion Charm. We have Rolana's cameo. We have Magic tier, Faith tier. Let's talk about stats for this build. So the way I went with stats here is I chose to do 60 Vigor, obviously, 22 Mind, 27 Endurance, but then I went for around 35 Dexterity. You get a little more with the Helm on, 40 Intelligence, and then we have Faith is going to be at 34 with the Faith tier. So we could use the Beam, we could use the Fire part, and then we could also get some physical damage with Moonveil as well. And we have Golden Vow and Howla Shabiri as our buff, so you can use Flame Grant Me Strength for some of the physical damage if you don't want to take the extra damage from Hal. Thanks for watching this one. I appreciate everybody that tuned in to my top 8 craziest builds and fun builds in Elden Ring 1.14. If you're not subbed yet, be sure to hit that sub button. You'll be part of an amazing community and, of course, get all the updates on anything with Elden Ring and From Software. I'm hoping they're working on something amazing, that they're cooking something great. What you think they're going to come up with next, be sure to comment that below. I'm curious as to your thoughts. I will catch everyone in the next video.